Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, April 12th. Senator Ed Markey is joining us live. It's time to go on the record. The state's junior senator looks to play a major role in Washington's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Will his progressive policies get any traction in a Republican majority Senate? It's 11. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
And welcome to OTR this morning on this Easter Sunday morning. Happy Easter to you. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. And as you can see, as we have been doing throughout the coronavirus outbreak, we are keeping social distancing protocols in place this morning. Joining us live from his home in Malden this morning is Senator Ed Markey. Senator, great to have you with us. Happy Easter. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for joining us. And that forsythia bush behind you, Ed, looks fabulous, Senator. As Congress returns, and I use that word in parentheses, a potential fourth bill is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's goal. She wants money for transportation, she wants it for free coronavirus treatment, and she wants more dollars for each of the states. But Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says, no, too early. Do Democrats have any shot at this whatsoever, Senator?
Well, we have to. By the way, thank you for having me on. Happy Easter and Passover to everyone who is watching. Yeah, we're going to have a big battle. The Republicans want to put in a couple of $100 billion more for small businesses, and we do too. We have 700,000 small businesses in Massachusetts, but we also have to be mindful of the fact that the first bill just was not adequate. We need a lot more money for the hospitals. We need a lot more money to ensure that we take care of the cities and towns. We need a lot more money to guarantee that the unemployment insurance, that all of the other issues are working properly, including personal protective equipment, making sure that we start to talk about how we will fund transportation in our country going forward. There is a huge opportunity for us to move quickly to deal with this emergency. We waited too long. We can't delay now. Mitch McConnell's just trying to play political games down in Washington. We cannot tolerate that. We have to move on to this next agenda and do so immediately.
But the bottom line is that McConnell controls the Senate. He's got the votes. If he's not willing to talk with the House Speaker and try to work something out, it's just not going to happen, no?
I think there's going to be a rising chorus from across this country that we need more funding. That goes into every single city in town, into every hospital, which are hemorrhaging money, not just here in Massachusetts, but around the country. We have to basically rely upon all of the stories that everyone is seeing every single day on television to ensure that the political pressure builds on McConnell and his Republican colleagues so that we infuse this system with the extra revenue we need for every single aspect of it, for workers and families as well as businesses. And unfortunately, Mitch McConnell still doesn't hear those cries from ordinary families and workers in our country. We're going to have to fight to make sure the funding is there for.
Senator, let's talk about small businesses. The majority of people in this country work for small businesses, including here in Massachusetts. So do you think that most of the money in the relief packages will get to those companies, or will the lobbyists win this battle for the dollars and the bigger employers?
Yeah, there is a problem that has unfolded that's very real and problematic. It's very hard for minority-owned businesses, very hard for small women-owned businesses to be able to access this program. The traditional lending institutions are favoring their own traditional clients, which puts these smaller businesses at a disadvantage. And so it's imperative that we do put in more funding, but we make sure that it gets distributed fairly so that everyone, every small business, the hairdresser, the small restaurant, that they're all able to gain access to this funding. Right now, that is not the case. I've talked to hundreds of small businesses over the last 10 days, and their complaints are almost uniform in terms of the difficulty of accessing the funding they need like a life raft to stay through this healthcare crisis and emerge solvent at the other end.
Let's talk about the president, Senator. He saw a slip in his numbers as the pandemic first unfolded, but the latest polls show he is back to where he started, about 44 to 45% support across the country. And his daily press conferences sort of drive the Democrats mad, but will attacking him only solidify his support in those areas where he seems pretty solid and he seems to be growing?
I think that what is unfolding is a self-created, blistering, scalding indictment of his own actions, or inaction. That's ultimately what is going to undermine his ability to get reelected this year. It's very clear that he missed the warning signs. He didn't put the steps in place that would have avoided the worst aspects of what we're dealing with right now. I called on the president on January 27th to name a coronavirus czar. He waited 1 full month before he did that. That was a lot of lost time in our country to manufacture the personal protective equipment, to manufacture the ventilators, to ensure that funding was put in place, that the hospitals were given what they needed. It's all going to be very clear in the aftermath that Donald Trump was, in fact, just the opposite of what we needed at this time. He was the wrong person in the Oval Office to make the right decisions, and as a result, we are paying the price right now, and I think he will pay the price at the ballot box in November.
Senator, as cities and states and towns start to collate all the numbers of people infected, it's becoming startlingly clear that people of color are being hit disproportionately harder. What can be done now to shrink the inequities already in the system?
Well, Senator Warren and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and I have sent a letter to the president, to the federal government, to HHS, demanding that they give us the information on race, on gender, on income, and what is happening in our country, and for them to give us that information immediately. This crisis is going to go on for an extended period of time. We need to make sure that we identify these racial disparities and treat them as a serious problem in our society. So many of them come from immigrant communities, they come from lower income communities. For many people, they can Skype or Zoom to work each day, but you can't Skype working in a supermarket. You can't Skype driving a bus. Those people have to show up every single day, and they are exposed to this disease at a much higher level than those in higher income groups. We just have to recognize that, and that these racial groups also suffer from health disparities, which are traditional. And all of this is being exposed, and that's why Senator Warren and Congresswoman Pressley and I are demanding that we get the answers from HHS and do so now.
Senator, every day we're hearing more and more about the increasing numbers of incidents of anti-Asian attacks here in this country. How best to address this?
I think it's imperative for every one of us to stand up and to make it clear that anti-Asian rhetoric or actions are just completely unacceptable in our society. This is the kind of racial stereotyping that took place back in the Second World War, where we interned hundreds of thousands of Japanese for 3 years. We just can't allow that kind of attitude, that kind of conduct to emerge. And I think every one of us has a responsibility to speak out, and wherever we see it, to stand up and make sure that it is not permitted, especially in Massachusetts, because we are a special place, but across the whole country as well.
Senator, do you have any fears of long-term effects way beyond the coronavirus as far as this issue is concerned?
I think we're going to suffer long-term economic consequences, which is why I think we have to be dealing with this issue in a way in which we're committed to providing the income to families, to individuals, to businesses for as long as this takes. We have given a one-time direct payment to individuals in our country. I think that has to become a recurring payment that we're giving to all Americans on an ongoing basis for as long as it takes. I've introduced legislation with Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris to accomplish that goal. I just think that we have to accept the fact that this is going to be with us for a long time until ultimately we find a vaccine, and until we do that, we must put the economic programs in place to deal with the unbelievable hardships which families are in fact suffering from right now.
OTR is live this morning with Senator Ed Markey. We'll be right back.